Hi everyone, welcome to another one of my doll makeovers. I'm MJ, a professional doll designer, and today I'm going to show you how to turn this cheap blind box doll into a tiger prince. I'll go through each step in detail and explain my techniques. Whether you're a beginner or experienced doll customizer, I hope you can learn something new. This is the third doll from this series that I am customizing. The first one was Kiki the Fairy, and the second one was Princess Mimi. These dolls are from the Mian Mian Strange World Adventure Blind Box BJD series. Kika Goods was kind enough to send me a full case of these dolls to unbox and customize. I use a lot of their dolls in my makeover videos because they're very affordable, which is great for someone like me who loves customizing dolls. If you're interested in getting your own BJD, you can use my promo code to get 10% off your purchase at kikagoods.com. I like to plan out my custom dolls in Procreate by drawing over a photo of the doll. According to the collector's card that he came with, his name is Prince Momo, and he looks like a cat, so I thought, what is the king of cats? Of course, the answer to that is a tiger. He has really pale skin, so I decided to make him a white tiger. His original outfit also looks very plain and flat, so I will edit the outfit to look more regal. Now that I have a good idea of what I want to do with Prince Momo, let's start customizing. First, I took apart his hair pieces and removed his outfit. He still looks cute without his hair and outfit. Let's customize his outfit first. The base outfit is fine, but it looks very flat and plain. As a prince, he deserves something that looks royal and extra. I started by removing the yellow roses. They were just glued on, so I carefully ripped them off by hand and saved them for later. Next, I removed the cape by carefully cutting the stitches that were attaching it to his shirt. Here's what it looks like after I remove the stitches. I want his cape to look like a brocade fabric, so I made this pattern using Adobe Illustrator and printed it out. You can kind of see the pattern through the fabric, so I taped the cape on top of it and drew over it with a dark blue colored pencil. This is to help me see the pattern better for the next step, which is going over it with a light blue puffy paint. I'm using puff paint because it will create a raised texture that will look closer to brocade. I actually did 2 layers of this paint because it gets a little more flat as it dries, and I wanted the pattern to have more volume. Here's the cape after the paint dried. Then I painted over the puffy part with iridescent paint because I wanted it to look more shiny and magical. Finally, I glued on some iridescent confetti to create a jeweled look. Remember this belt that he came with? Well, I turned it into a strap for his one-shoulder cavalier-style cape. This will hold the cape on his body without me having to sew or glue it to his shirt. Speaking of his shirt, I glued on some gold ribbon and fake gems to create some contrast. This is the same gold ribbon I used on Princess Mimi, so they will match each other better. His original crown was blending too much with his hair because their colors are so similar, so I just popped it off to repaint it. I sprayed the crown with a matte sealant called Mr. Super Clear before painting it gold. This helps the paint stick much better to the crown. Next, I added some blue glitter to the blue sections. This is how it looks after sealing my work with a clear gloss spray. I can't wait to see how it looks on Prince Momo. He has one more accessory, the sword. It has a lot of intricate details, but you can't see any of it because the white washes out all those details. I painted the blade a light gray, and already you can see the details popping out. Then I went over it with an iridescent blue paint to make it look more shiny and give it a fantasy vibe. I made the handle gold, and when the paint dried, I sprayed the entire sword with a gloss finish. By the way, I added a link to the video description of all the supplies that I use in this tutorial. Let's make him some custom eyes. I already made a separate tutorial video for how to make anime-style BJD eyes in any size. It's linked in the video description below, so I'll go through this part pretty quickly. I printed out the eye artwork that I drew in Procreate and cut it out. Then I glued them onto my handmade eye chips. You need to brush over the eye artwork with glue to protect it from the clear resin that we will use later. I want his eyes to look magical, so I'm adding a few different types of glitter. I use this iridescent blue powder as a base. This will give a subtle blue glow. Then I'm using these chunkier glitter just on the bottom of his eyes. The pink glitter is going right at this small pink highlight at the bottom because I don't want that color to get lost in all the blue. Then I added some UV resin on top and cured it under a UV lamp. And that's basically how I made these eyes. Next, let's move on to the face. Remove the head from the doll body. You'll have to remove the eyes too. Remove the old face paint with acetone on a cotton pad. When you're done, rinse it with water and spray with Mr. Super Clear. Make sure to spray outdoors and wear a respirator to protect your lungs. I'm going to insert his eyes to help me get a feel for his facial proportions as I sketch out the eyeliner. I'm using a toothpick with a bit of sticky putty on the end to help me position them in his face. He already has a cute but mysterious look to him. Okay, let's start drawing his face. I printed out my design so that I can reference it while I sketch out his eye shape. I'm using a dark blue watercolor pencil. If your hand is shaky like mine, you can rest your pinky finger on the face to steady yourself. This is just a sketch at this stage, so use a light touch. No need to go super dark with your sketch right now. Another advantage of using a light touch is that it's easier to erase if you make a mistake. You can just use a clean eraser. His eyeliner has a blue to purple gradient, so I switched to a purple pencil to draw this end of his eye. Now I'm blending the purple into the blue section. As I mentioned before, you can undo with a clean eraser if you need to. I kept messing up this part, so I brought out my special tiny eraser, which I got in Japan. I found out later that you can actually order it here. It's in my BJD supplies list linked below. And now that I have the basic eyeliner shape done, I can make it a little darker. You can use a sharp eraser to clean up your edges. By the way, I'm using that big dry brush to wipe away the eraser dust. The first eye looks good, so let's sketch the other eye. I'll fast forward through it. Alright, both eyeliners are looking great. And next, I'll draw his eyelids. I'm sharpening my watercolor pencil with a craft knife. Pencil sharpeners were breaking the tip way too often, so I found that this method saves you a lot of pencil, and you can actually get a much sharper point than any pencil sharpener. Now I can draw the eyelids. The line is a bit messy, but I like the layout, so I can clean it up with my eraser later. Drawing the other side. Here's what it looks like after I cleaned up the lines. Now let's sketch the rest of the face. I'm very lightly filling in the nose area with a light pink and drawing his mouth, indicating some tiny fangs there. I also find it helpful to lightly lay out the shape of the lips so I know where to paint once I get to that step. I'm putting his hair pieces on just to check that the hair doesn't cover up any part of his eyes. I think that looks pretty good, so I'll remove his hair and eyes and save my work by spraying with Mr. Super Clear. As a tip, anytime you want to save your work, you can spray it with Mr. Super Clear. I can prepare my blush palette while waiting for the head to dry outside. I'm using a knife to scrape chalk pastels into a powder. If you want your blush to look more lifelike, choose at least one cool shade and at least one warm shade and use them next to each other on the face. Turning them into a powder allows me to easily blend a bunch of different shades. These eyeshadow brushes are great for applying chalk pastels on doll faces. If you're not sure about the colors you picked, you can test it out on the back of your doll's head. I want to see if this light brown that I mixed will work as a contour color for his cheeks. I think it looks okay when applied lightly, so I'll add it to his face now. You can erase chalk pastel with a kneaded eraser, and it won't create a harsh line like a regular eraser does. I got too much brown on this one spot, so I'm erasing it by dabbing gently. Then you can blend out the spot that you just erased with a clean, dry brush. Using a light orange blush right next to the brown contour. It's supposed to be almost in the center of his cheeks. Now I'm blending it with a cool pink, creating a sort of gradient towards his nose. Adding some more blush to his cheeks. After gradually building up the color, here's what it looks like. Now I'll add some light orange right above his nose. Just adding some more layers of color to build up the intensity. For his eyeshadow, I wanted it to look natural yet masculine, so I blended purple and brown to create a taupe color, and I'm applying it right on his eyelids. Contouring his chin with light brown. I want to get a more intense eyeshadow color, so I sprayed the face with Mr. Super Clear and I'm going over the eyeshadow again. You can use this method of layering pastel color if you want the colors to be more intense. So now the eyeshadow is darker than before, and I'll save my work again with Mr. Super Clear. Let's edit the body while the face is drying. I want to change the color of his hands and feet, so I'll show you how to remove just those parts without taking apart the entire doll. You'll need 4 paper clips, and pliers are optional if you need help grabbing the string. Pull the hand until you can see the white elastic string. Take a paper clip and thread the end through the string. Like this. Now you can take off the hand and the string won't retract inside the doll. Now we can remove the other hand and both feet using the same method. The strings holding the feet together is much thicker and tighter than the arms, so you might need to use pliers, but somehow I was able to do it without pliers this time. The big paw pad actually comes out, so we can remove it by pushing it out with pliers. Each part has an etched L or R on it to indicate the doll's left or right side. I used acetone to remove the old paint off the hands and feet, then sprayed them with Mr. Super Clear. I used the same taupe eyeshadow color to shade in between his fingers. You can see that the right hand has more contour between the fingers now, and here's how both hands look with contour. Now let's blush the feet, again using the same taupe color to make a gradient starting from the bottom of his feet. You can see the gradient on the right foot. Okay, let's do the left side. Tiger paws have a dark shadow, almost like a black line in between the toes. I'm going to paint that line using purple paint. On his pale skin, this is going to read as a soft black without actually using black paint. On a pale doll, using black paint can actually look very harsh and unnatural. I actually never use black makeup on my light-skinned dolls. Instead, I use another dark color like purple or brown, usually something that matches the doll's eyes or hair. I finished painting the lines on both hands. Now let's do the same thing on his feet. This doll doesn't have any toes, so I'm using a purple watercolor pencil to sketch in the lines first. Then I went over the lines with paint. Let's paint his paw pads and toe beans pink. His paws look so cute already. To seal the paint, I'm brushing on a liquid gloss acrylic varnish. Let's do the toe beans on his feet. Now that we finished editing his body parts, let's put it back together. For the hands, hook the S-hooks into the heart-shaped paw pad first. Then put it through the hole in the center of the palm, and press down to make sure it goes all the way down and the hook sticks out of the wrist. Use the paper clip to pull out the string from the arm. Grab the string with needle nose pliers and loop it over the hook in the doll's hand. Now we can remove the paper clip. I already attached the other hand, so I'll show you how to do the feet. I moved both arms out of the way so they don't get scratched by my pliers. Hook the C hooks into the paw pad. Then put it through the hole in the foot. Pull the string out of the leg and grab onto it with your pliers. Then loop it over the C-clip. Remove the paper clip and your foot is now reattached. Now the body is put back together. I did one more thing to customize this body, which was adding these blue tiger stripes on his legs with watercolor pencil. I really like his blue color scheme, so I decided to give him blue stripes instead of black ones. And so far, I think it looks really cute. I love his little paws. Let's get back to the main event, his face. Using a variety of blues and purple, I'm going to paint his eyeliner, going over the sketch that I made. I'll start with a dark blue base color. I'm using a bigger brush and starting in the middle so I can cover more area evenly. I'll get the thin corners later with a thinner brush. Starting the other eye. Switching to a dark purple paint to start the gradient at the end of his eyeliner. If you've been watching my videos, you know I love making gradients. I'm not trying to blend the gradient right now, I just want to lay down both colors. I used a thin brush to paint the purple ends. Switching back to the dark blue to get more base coverage. This will also blend the gradient. Making a gradient using dark colors is pretty easy since they blend well with each other. Using my thin brush again to paint the inner corners. The eyeliner gradient needs more purple on the ends, so I'm adding it right now. Blending it out some more. The top eyeliner looks good, so moving on to the bottom eyeliner. I'm drawing it in with a brown watercolor pencil. That initial line looks good, so I'll make it darker. Drawing the other side to match. I think that looks good, so I'm going to draw his bottom eyelashes. Let's draw the lashes on the other side. I'm going over his bottom liner and lashes with a dark red to change the color to a reddish brown. Now I'll share one of my techniques for making eyes look brighter. Use a sharp, thin eraser to erase some of the eyeliner between eyelashes. If you don't have a special eraser like this one, you can actually cut a regular eraser into a sharp edge. You can see some space opening up between the eyelashes. This will open up the bottom of his eyes so that they don't look so dark. Erasing on the other side. Now he has eyeliner and a full set of bottom eyelashes without looking too heavy. Let's add some dimension to the bottom of his eyes. I'm using a lavender pencil to shade underneath his eyeliner. This will create contrast underneath the eyelashes and make them stand out more. You can see the difference in the right side that I just did versus the left side. Now to shade the left eye. Painting a light pink on his nose. Starting to paint his mouth, I always start with the middle line because that centers the whole mouth. Painting his lips a dusty purple. This is a pretty unique lip color that I haven't used before, but I think it makes him look mysterious and a bit vampy. Adding fangs, and his mouth is done. Let's add dimension to his eyelids. His eyeshadow already acts as a contour for his eyes, but he needs some highlights on his eyelid. I'm using really thin layers of paint to create a soft highlight, and dabbing it with my finger kinda helps blend it. Here's how his eyelids look after a few layers of highlight. They have a nice blurry, translucent effect. Using a thin liner brush to paint a highlight line right above his eyeliner. This will create contrast between the eyelid and eyeliner and will make both areas stand out more. You can compare the right eye and left eye. The white line is subtle but makes a big difference. Let's darken the line above his eyelid. I'm attaching his hair before I draw his eyebrows to make sure I'm not drawing them too high. I'm using blue and gray watercolor pencils to draw a gradient in his eyebrows. Now I'll start drawing his tiger stripes. I'm starting with a light sketch to make sure everything is symmetrical. After I sketch out all his stripes, I can start making them darker. Let's put on his hair so I can draw the stripes on his cheeks. I want to make sure they're not too covered by his hair. After drawing the initial sketch, I took off the hair so I can darken the stripes. And now I'll draw the stripes on his other cheek. I like his stripes so far, but I want the color to be more saturated, especially on his cheeks, so I sprayed his face with Mr. Super Clear and drew over the stripes again. I'm mixing white with blue to get a brighter color. You can see the stripes on his right cheek with 2 layers of pencil stand out more than the stripes on the left side. Now let's do the other side. With that, I'm done with his stripes. I think that looks really great so far. He's still missing his eyelashes, so let's finish his eyes. I'm sketching his eyelashes with a watercolor pencil, then painting over it using my thinnest liner brush. I like how these look, so let's paint the eyelashes on the other side. A lot of people would finish here, but there's a lot of opportunity to be extra sparkly when working with these huge anime eyes. A great way to add brightness into a dark eyeliner is painting a reflection from the eyes. This is to imitate light bouncing off his eyeballs and into his eyelid. His eyes are light blue, so I'm painting a lighter blue in the middle of his eyeliner. I'm slowly concentrating the light blue in the center so it makes a soft highlight. Painting some purple on the ends to blend it in with that purple gradient. Adding some light blue eyelashes. I'm being really careful to not completely cover up the dark lashes. Adding some dark details at the bottom of the eyeliner. His eyes are slightly closed, which creates more shadow, so this represents the shadows cast by his eyelashes. Princess Mimi and Fairy Kiki both have sparkles in their eyes, so I'll add some to Momo's too. I'm using my tiniest brush to paint these stars. To get perfectly round highlights, I'm going to use these ball-ended sculpting tools. They have different size balls on each end. I dip it in paint and dab it. To get tiny highlights, I use this needlepoint tool. If you don't have a tool like this, you can use anything with a sharp point, like the end of a paper clip. I think his face-up is finally done, so I'll spray with one last layer of Mr. Super Clear. We can attach his eyes and dress him up. Oh wow, doesn't he look so regal? I'll show you a close-up of his face so you can clearly see all the details. His eyes are super sparkly. The glitter really catches the light, especially in this scene when I was doing his photography. By the way, that white unicorn behind him is one of the toys that I designed for Unicorn Academy. Of course, him and Princess Mimi were totally meant for each other, so they got married. And their friend Kiki the fairy was there too. You can watch their makeover videos on my channel. So what do you think of my tiger prince? This was my most challenging custom so far, but I had so much fun designing him. If you liked this video, I have more BJD makeover videos in my playlist. Thanks for watching and see you next time!